Hey, welcome back to the Right Cut Live,
This is your boy Colin, a.k.a. Mr. Right.
where even when he's wrong, he's still right.
Yes, sir.
And I'm Mark Cottrell.
Oh, man. What we getting into today?
Man, I tell you what, the intro music, I didn't think it was going to stop. It was just rolling.
Dude, it was good.
When
I
you-
was feeling it today.
When you get to dancing with it, it's kind of hard to stop it.
Oh, if I only had dance moves.
Well, Mr. Wright, why don't you go on and tell us where we could be found?
We can be found, well, right now, in one of my spare bedrooms in my house.
No, I meant to listen to us.
But to listen to us, we can be found on Podomatic. We can be found on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, all those good things. You can find us, you can listen to us, you can love us. And also, brand new, we actually are on YouTube, so you can go up on there. You can like, you can subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Give us some love.
We're on the YouTube?
We're on the YouTube.
The YouTube?
But it's not actual videos. Not yet.
Not yet.
It's just we put the podcast into a YouTube.
It's a coming.
We put it into YouTube as just the podcast. But the videos, live videos, are coming soon.
And as always, to search for us, to listen to us, search The Right Cut Live and also Colin and Mark's podcast. And on the YouTube, you're going to actually, until I get it fixed, need to search Mark Cottrell, and you'll be able to subscribe there.
Yeah.
So shout-outs this week. First shout-out, we want to say thank you to all the followers that we have. Thank you for getting us. This past week, we moved up from third in the world to second in the world. Keep it coming. Keep spreading the word.
Yeah, we got that good football podcast, apparently.
Word. But seriously, on our shout-outs, number one, we want to say, again, to Nova Nutrition. Go check them out, man. Get your shakes, your loaded teas.
Your meal
replacements. Get refreshed. Hey, and follow them on Instagram, on Facebook. They're always doing giveaways. They're always doing the flavor of the week, flavor of the month, flavor of the season. Go hit them up. Tell them we sent you. They're on the North Shore over there in Covington, next to, what's the bread place, man? Next to the Winn-Dixie on Covington, off the exit. And then also
Panera Bread?
Panera Bread. Thank you, sir.
There you go.
And then also go see our friends at Nolan Sports. Any three of the three locations, the French Quarter, Mall, Louisiana, and definitely in H-Town.
Go get that good
Hammond, America.
Go get that good sports memorabilia, some apparel, just some good stuff. All their locations. Go check them out real quick.
Absolutely. And before we jump off into the podcast tonight, too, I want to say one more special thing, too. If you're following my personal Facebook, you'll seen what I posted yesterday. I got a friend of mine, his daughter, Joni Chasson. She's only 17. She was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma with a mass on her lungs. So, I mean, I posted it on my Facebook where if you can go give, and if you want to give blood, it's much needed for the treatments that she's going through, and other people need it as well. Look on my Facebook. It gives some directions and instructions on how to do that. And if you do, can give blood, make sure that you say it's for Joni Chasson. And so, great girl, got a huge future in front of her. Go help her out.
So, Mark, what are we getting into sports-wise today?
Well, man, we got to jump off first.
Into?
Around the sports world in 80 seconds or less.
Fact. Hit us up with it, dog.
You ready? Starting out this week in MLB, it's the same thing, beating a dead horse. It's really funny. We're out here in the woods. There's horses around here. It just seems like they keep looking for horses with like flies around it.
Yes.
Like, hey, thing's dead, man. Let it go.
Yeah,
you can't kill it any more than what you already have.
Exactly.
It's kind of like me, myself, and Irene, where he's trying to kill the cow on the side of the road.
Yes.
just give it up.
Yes.
The NBA All-Star Weekend is over. You had some controversy with the dunk contest. Imagine that. Kyrie Irving's out for the rest of the year. Zion plays the Blazers tonight. And then the NFL, you got the CBA talks, which we thought we were going to get to talk about it tonight, but it's being held off till Tuesday.
Yeah, it looks like some junk, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it works out for the better. And then also the Combine's coming up, starting this Sunday.
Christmas is starting, baby.
Christmas is starting, buddy. Give you the dates on there. The 23rd through the 27th, the tight ends, quarterbacks, and receivers report. The 24th through the 28th, the kickers, special teams, O-linemen, and running backs. 25th through the 29th, defensive linemen and linebackers. 26th through the 1st is your DBs. Saints news.
Big news.
Big news. And we'll just hit it real quick. We'll come to it in a little bit. Got some news about Drew. What?
Yes.
Exciting. LSU basketball, they're continuing their Jekyll and Hyde ways. You just kind of wonder, they were a lock for the tourney. Now they might be NIT.
No, I think they're still pretty much a lock for the tourney. It's just what
Really
their placement's going to be.
Yeah, and it really depends on what they finish off the rest of the season with. LSU baseball, this weekend they're getting into their second weekend series. Of course, this week in the mid-game week they lost to Nichols. And if you're one of the ones that debates the importance of the middle week games against the smaller teams, go to 104.5 ESPN, that app, and listen to the other day on Off the Bench where Kim Mulkey, the head basketball coach for Baylor's women, you should listen to her take. It's awesome. And then the XFL is in week 3.
Yes.
Which, really quickly before we jump off into the actual podcast, XFL, I really hope Vince McMahon is setting it up to be like the AAA, the minor leagues, to where it's a feeder league. I hope it
actually
succeeds.
It's going pretty well so far. I mean, obviously it's got too short of a life to tell how well it's going to do, but it seems to be going pretty well.
Absolutely.
It's a perfect time of the year to put the XFL when football's quote unquote not going on. And that now you have football going on.
Absolutely. And that is around the sports world
in 80 seconds
or less. So let's jump off into something really quickly. I want to say this part real quick too, just to let you know that football is king not only on our podcast, but all the way around the world. Because when you have the quote unquote off season of football, all you have is drama from other leagues to be able to try to get some viewership.
Exactly, because now it's the baseball drama. Before it was basketball drama, and it's just drama everywhere, and they're just trying to keep up.
Even in basketball, they must have heard us talking about the All-Star game weekend not being what it used to be. Because
and they picked it up. Actually played, what's the word? With more passion.
Yeah, they changed some rules. I didn't even pay attention enough to see.
They play with a lot more passion than they did in previous All-Star games.
Absolutely. But just going along with it, they had to have controversy for people to keep watching.
Dunk contest
controversy where they even came out and said, hey, we screwed the pooch here.
Sounds like the NFL.
Right. Well, we messed this up. We had this all fixed, and we still messed it up by getting it fixed.
Yep. That's just the law of the land, though, buddy.
Yeah. So MLB, we're not. I'm just going to leave that dead horse alone. The media is beating it to death as much as they can.
Yes.
NBA, I will say really quickly is that Kyrie Irving's shutting it down for the season.
I think he came back too soon, as I'm sure a lot of people thought.
I don't think it's that. Me personally, I think it's that he knows that team's not good at the playoffs, and
without KD,
right?
No,
and he's like, well, KD will be back next year. I'll shut it down for the rest of this year.
Yeah,
we'll do our thing next year.
Exactly. That's what they're going to end up doing, and we'll see. Hopefully, they bring a little bit more life to that team and the rest of that division.
They need it.
They do.
Yeah,
badly.
Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about it or what, man?
I ain't worried about none of that basketball right now. I'm worried about the Pels, which they're doing okay. It looks like they're probably going to end up not making the playoffs, but you never know. They can make a push. Zion's killing it right now. People are saying he doesn't deserve Rookie of the Year, which is absolute, hit me with it, blasphemy.
Well, the only thing about it is John Morant has been extremely consistent and is really a perennial all-star even his rookie year.
He is, but the only difference between the two of them right now is Ja Morant's played the whole season. Zion hasn't. That's the only difference. Zion's playing, I don't want to say head and shoulders better than Ja Morant, But he's put up a lot better numbers than John Morant has.
I wouldn't be surprised if you have a year where it's co-rookie of the years, like when it was Grant Hill and Jason Kidd.
And, I mean, it should be. Because people are, again, bashing Zion. Oh, he didn't play the full season, blah, blah, blah. So what? That's why they have per 36-minute stats for those players that didn't play full seasons and didn't play full games. And it's like, oh, well, even per 36-minute stats, these were his actual stats for what he was doing, which he's head and shoulders above a lot of people, not just rookies. So, I mean, if you're going to give Rookie of the Year, I agree with making it co-MVP.
Absolutely.
Sure. Co-Rookie of the Year.
I mean, and he could be Rookie of the Year with, not playing the whole year. I mean, Ben Simmons got the Rookie of the Year his sophomore year because he didn't play the first year.
He's probably still in Rookie of the Year.
Right. Yeah. It's just got to find a way to do it. Let's move on let's skip over to NFL and the Saints stuff. We're going to really talk about LSU baseball. We could talk a little bit about LSU basketball and XFL if you want to.
Let's get into that then. LSU basketball. I mean, we said it last week, the week before. They win games by 2-3 points, and then they go and lose games by 2-3 points. They can never pull away in a game.
Even when they pull away and like have a demanding lead,
the team will find a way to come back and almost beat them or beat them. And
I think it has a lot to do with what we talked about last week too. They're playing the 5-man rotation, which I understand is 7 players. Those of you who don't know basketball that great, it's called a 5-man rotation. And when they're playing that 5-man rotation, and just to correct you, yes, you can only have 5 players on the court.
And just to show it to you, it's a 5-man forward rotation.
Right.
It's not 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a center like normal, or even guard, forward, 3 forward, center, whatever. It's 5 forwards on the court at one time.
Absolutely. And what you're running into is these guys are giving it their all. They're doing it at the beginning of the games, the ones that they're getting the commanding leads early, and you can see if they have a team that has some gumption to them and want to fight back, they end up coming back. And if they have
gumption and depth,
and then if you have those games where they're getting destroyed and they come back and almost win the game, you could see that they're trying to take it off and they're like, all right, now we're going to kick it in, but then it's too far, too little.
Exactly.
So I hope they get into the tourney. Right now, they have to beat South Carolina tomorrow really if they lose to South Carolina, it's going to be in question.
It's going to be doubtful that they make it into the tourney. I think they will still make it because, again, they haven't lost that many games. No. People think that they're just losing left and right. They've only lost, 6, 7 games, something like that? It's not many.
Oh, and the thing about it is with their schedule that they have left, the reason why the South Carolina game is so pivotal is that their last 2 home games is A&M and Georgia, which they should win those handedly.
You would think. But it's going to be tough games.
You really need to win 3 of these last 5 games.
Especially going against Anthony Edwards and not being able to play defense.
Right.
Because, LSU's just – their defense isn't there. And then you got – I understand college, usually the zone is the defense, whether it's 1-3-1, 2-3-3-2. They're just –
somebody's always lost.
It's not that somebody's always lost. It's I guess you would say lost, but the fact of they don't react like they're supposed to,
right,
or as quickly as they're supposed to. But again, it's 5 forwards. It's not like you have the speed of a guard and you're able to slide over as quickly as a guard. It's 5 forwards trying to play defense.
And listen, it is a young team. That's not an excuse for them. It's a young team. Even Calipari is having a hard time since the last national championship with young teams.
You got to think about it. Think about how teams used to be. Like, you would have your Duke teams only losing 1-2 games in a season. Your North Carolina teams, same way. Kentucky, same way.
You have your mid-majors doing that now.
But the thing is, this season, I think Baylor's number 1.
Yeah.
But I have to go back and check how many losses they have because it seems like everybody's pretty much got at least 3, 4, 5 losses, no matter what your ranking is.
Except for, when you look at the mid-majors, like San Diego State was undefeated until the other day, because I say until the other day they still could be. I haven't watched or kept up with it enough to know. But I tell you what, one thing about it is the opportunity with LSU to make the tourney and all of these mid-major teams, it makes March Madness and the brackets a lot more fun to me.
It does, because it puts teams that you wouldn't expect, even though really most of the teams right now that are higher up winning whatever, you're not expecting from any of them anyways.
That's well played, sir. I was trying to get you to smile with my finger in my nose, and you still nothing.
Yeah.
Keep going.
That's called composure. That's why I was a killer on the court back in high school.
Throw it over the mountains, huh?
So anyways, I don't even flipping remember what I was talking about.
It's okay. Let's move on to the XFL. LSU basketball is going to get a little depressing if we keep talking about it.
Yeah, basically. So the XFL.
Yeah.
Do we want to? I mean, obviously you have your scores, your stats, how players are doing. Do we want to talk about anybody in particular in the XFL that's like kind of killing it?
You want to talk about 12 gauge Cardell, which I don't really care for. But I will say this:
the man's killing the league.
He is, and I will say this:
talk about head and shoulders above everybody.
Well, yeah. Well, he's been on the NFL roster, and
another one that's actually killing the league. And you might not look at it from his passing. Actually, kind of from his passing, but also his rushing. Jordan Ta'amu.
Yeah, he is.
He's kind of killing it. I think he's third or fourth passing overall, and he's actually like third or fourth rushing overall as well.
One thing I was going to say is they're trying to reach out to other guys to come into the league and play so they can get some notoriety, get some more fans watching. And they offered Tim Tebow, and he turned it down. But they're trying to get some guys, and it's the reason why that they're paying a little bit more money to the quarterbacks than they are the rest of the players. Is they're trying to get some marquee names in there to help it out.
They are, and I mean, Vince McMahon's he's gonna get it done. He's a businessman. He knows how to run the business. He's gonna get the players in. He's gonna get the recognition. I really think the problem is, for now, from what I see, the only notable names you really see are at quarterback.
Yeah.
You know the quarterbacks. Pretty much every quarterback that's on the roster, every starting quarterback at least, maybe one or two that are behind, sitting on the bench, you don't really know them, but pretty much every starting quarterback in this league, you know.
Yeah.
You don't know every starting running back. You don't know every starting wide receiver.
You have to know a lot of football and watch as much, if even more, football than we watch to know most of the players there. And we know a lot of them. There's a lot of them we've never heard of.
Exactly. And especially what I've seen, especially defensively, you see a couple of wide receivers that you know their names, running backs, of course, Matt Jones, Donnell Pumphrey, people like that, you know their names. But defensively, you really, unless they were at LSU? Yeah, unless you were at LSU, which we're LSU fans, obviously, and we watched them, we don't really know many of the defensive names because they were never really notable. Yeah. They just kind of came out of nowhere.
I tell you one thing I do like about the XFL is that they're real in-game sideline conversations with the reporters. Man, I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I mean, they had Anthony Johnson, the freak from LSU, where he named himself a free agent after week 1. He's on his new team, and they're doing a sideline report with him, interview, not report, with him during the middle of the game, and he's just clowning. You tell that LSU swag is just flowing through him.
Yes. Love it.
Love it. The only thing that concerns me, I heard him talking about it today on the radio, is if they can turn it into a feeder league, because most of these guys are here because they want to hopefully get back to the league or get into the league because they never made it, is that you don't have any breaks. So if you have, especially the guys that are on the championship teams or the ones that go to the XFL championship game, that's 10 weeks of football, and then you go straight into, by that time, mini camps, if not preseason.
And you can. And I mean, you got to think of it also this way. XFL is going to end in April.
Right.
So you're going to get into mini camps and blah, blah, blah. But what I hope the XFL does, and actually the XFL and NFL hopefully kind of partner in this, instead of getting notable players and stuff like that into the league, get players from the practice squad.
Yeah.
Why not? You have them on the practice squad. Obviously, you can call them up, blah, blah, blah. Why wouldn't you put them? You'd put them in the practice squad. Why wouldn't you put them in game situations and see how they perform in game situations and say, oh, well, this guy's good?
Yeah.
So I hope at some point in time the XFL and NFL partner in that in getting players off the practice squad. Obviously, you have, I'm sure after the draft, you're going to have a bunch of undrafteds, and then they're going to end up going into the XFL, all that stuff. But I just hope the one thing I see is just getting players from the practice squad into the XFL and getting themselves a name.
If the CBA can expand the roster, the new CBA deal expands the roster where you can have more players, then it'd be huge. Because it
would be, unfortunately.
Feed each league.
It could, but at the same time, it'll take away from each league. Not really each league. It'll take away from the XFL simply because that's, I think, what did we talk about? It was 2 more players on the overall roster.
No, I want them to really expand it.
What you mean? Like 6, 7 players?
I wanted it to go, where are we at? 52 right now? 53, right?
53. They expanded it to 55.
Let's go to 63. Let's go to 65.
That's a lot of people. That's the only reason why is because of money.
Yeah.
You're going to have to end up paying those guys still, if they're on the roster, a couple $100,000.
Yeah, the league minimum now is like $500,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, which I understand, but listen, they're getting more money than they ever had before, even when viewership was down.
Yeah, but, yeah, I agree. I would like them to expand, but at the same time, that would probably kind of take away from the XFL if they did expand that much, because the players that are playing the XFL are like, oh, well, NFL's expanding, so I have more of a chance to get on another team, and then they're going to leave the XFL, try and go to the NFL, and I think that's just good. That would be a kabobble.
Kabobble.
Yeah.
Kabobble. I like it. You want to talk any more about the XFL before we move on?
No, I think we're good. Next thing.
Next thing before we go, another shout out to our friends at Nova Nutrition and our friends at Nolan Sports. Go hit them up. Check them out.
Hit them up.
Go tell them we sent you, and they'll be happy to know that we sent you.
Oh, yeah.
So, NFL Saints. Great news for the Saints.
The GOAT
is back.
Yes, sirree, Bob.
Let's talk about what that does.
So, from what I read, a good article, and it was, I don't know who wrote it. It was on Bleacher Report, but basically they explained it as it's a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Brees coming back to the Saints. Basically, that kind of, it might reset the quarterback market. I don't know. I don't think it will, but basically that kicks Teddy out. Teddy's probably going to end up being a free agent now.
Well, and listen, that might be the best thing for Teddy, because Teddy's going to get a big payday somewhere.
It is the best thing for Teddy right now. I just think
he wasn't going to get that big of a payday taking over for Drew in New Orleans.
And then also the fact of we still need to keep Taysom as well.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about that in a second, about what they're saying about Taysom. But it's kind of a domino effect with Drew coming back. Teddy's going to be a free agent. That kind of resets it for the quarterback market as far as free agency goes, because I'm sure a lot of people were expecting the Saints to have to go after a quarterback or Teddy not being a free agent. Now he is. I mean, you got a couple of quarterbacks out there. Tom Brady, which I doubt he leaves. He would be dumb to leave because, I mean, let's be honest. Obviously, Tom Brady, great quarterback of all time. But if you go elsewhere...
Not greatest, great.
Great quarterback.
You said, I was just making sure they heard you right.
Yes. Great quarterback of all time, but let's be honest. He's 42, 43 years old.
He ain't going nowhere else.
He's lost his step. If he goes somewhere else, the only thing he would do is to try and prove himself outside of New England Patriots, and if he does not do that, then he kind of, I don't want to say he derails his legacy, but he taints it because he'll kind of, even though people will say, oh, he was old, oh, he's past his prime, people will still call him the best of all time. Some people will.
I will say this, too. If he goes to another team, at best, he'll be Brett Favre for the Jets.
Yes, exactly. And maybe not even that because
Favre still had a lot. I mean, because when Favre went to Minnesota next year, he went ham.
Exactly. So I don't see him leaving. He may not. I don't know. He may retire. I don't know.
He ain't retired.
Yeah, he didn't go out on a good note this year.
Especially now that Breeze isn't retiring, he ain't retiring.
No,
he wants that record.
He wants
the records, and it ain't happening.
Yeah, but I just don't see him leaving the Patriots. It wouldn't be a smart decision because, like I said, if he goes to another team, say he even misses the playoffs, that'll taint his legacy. It really will.
Well, not only will it taint his legacy, but it'll prove what we said for a long time.
He ain't that good.
You're talking about a guy with the highest completion percentage of 67, and that was 1 year.
His highest was 68.9, and that was his pretty much nearly perfect year.
Yeah.
Everything the next best was like 67, then 66.
Yeah, I mean, he had quite
comparative
a few.
to the GOAT, whose highest is 74. But that's
Hey, whatever. Those who love the media darlings.
Yeah, but whatever. So you got Tom Brady, you got Dak, who I think is going to get a contract. I don't think Dallas would let go of him. I think that would be rather stupid on their part.
I think they're going to franchise Dak.
They probably will. Hopefully he doesn't hold out on him because that'll really screw him. But
let's talk about that. Keeping on talking about the quarterback, just to throw out there, because you got Phillip Rivers, who's going to go somewhere else because I don't think he's going to retire yet. I thought he was before, but I don't think he is now.
I think he's going to be honest, I think he's going to stay in division for sure.
Where's he going to go in division?
2 teams.
Not Kansas City. I don't think Denver. Denver might.
I think he might either go to Denver, or I think depending on what Las Vegas does.
Oh, I was fixing to say Oakland too.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm still saying San Diego.
I had to catch myself. But depending on what Las Vegas does, he might end up there.
Yeah.
And he may end up as maybe starter. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he wants to be a starter. Maybe he's going to be a kind of a insurance. I really don't know with Rivers anymore. I mean, last season he just dropped the ball, man.
Well, I think if he goes somewhere and he's not a starter, he's going to retire at that point. There's other quarterbacks. Look, Jameis. Let's be honest. Jameis is probably out the door.
He's not Jameis here.
Huh?
He's not Jameis.
No, I'm just saying Jameis is probably out the door too.
He's not Jameis. His name is not Jameis. It's 30 for 30.
30 for 30. Oh my gosh. Scam Newton's most likely out the door. I wouldn't.
He's not a free agent though.
No, but I think they're going to trade him away.
They're going to trade him.
There's talks of the Lions wanting to get a quarterback because of Matthew Stafford.
He might be out the door. Dalton's most definitely out the door.
Yeah.
What other quarterbacks? They have Tannehill. I think he's going to end up re-signing with the Titans, depending on
Mariota.
Actually, depending on, because now Drew Brees is with the Saints, so he's kind of off the market. But I think everybody's waiting on to see what Tom Brady does.
Yeah.
Because I think the Titans are actually going to make a hard push for Tom Brady, because basically the offense that they run is what the Patriots run,
Which
was crossing routes and blah blah blah, which Tannehill succeeded in. So I think you bring in somebody that's basically been running that type of offense his entire career, crossing routes, and somebody that's perfected it that may do as well. So I think Tennessee's going to make a hard push at him.
Yeah.
But depending on what that happens with, I still think Tennessee's going to re-sign Tannehill.
Yeah. I don't think the Raiders' push for Brady is – I know it's legitimate, but I don't think there's a legitimate chance.
No, not at all.
And so, but his old butt needs to go on ahead and sign with the Patriots.
His old butt needs to retire.
Rest of the dominoes could fall.
He needs to retire.
He needs to retire.
He really does. He's going to – I mean, people – I think I saw somebody say that Tom Brady threw better this past year than he did the last 3 or 4 years.
No, he didn't.
What kind of garbage are you feeding?
Did you watch football?
Brady was trash this year.
Gosh.
He was a garbage can.
Yes.
So I mean,
he wasn't Phillip Rivers' garbage can this year, but he was
garbage can.
Yeah.
So to say, and that's why I actually saw a couple of different posts, people saying, "Oh, when you need to let go of Drew Brees, he's old, he's 40, and blah blah blah." Well, here's the thing. I think I actually had a civil conversation with somebody on Bleacher Report.
Civil for once?
Civil. Yes, it was far few and in between, but it was actually civil. Basically, he was trying to explain you just gotta. Sometimes you gotta let go. Drew Brees is 40. I mean, and he was kind of like, and he made good points. He basically said you had Brett Favre, you had Aaron Rodgers behind him. He came in, took over. Tom Brady took over for Drew Bledsoe, and you had the heir that would take over for the starter and then keep leading the organization, which is understandable. But here's the thing. Those players were kind of on the back end of their careers. You knew they were sliding. They're starting to slide down. You knew that. Drew Brees is not sliding.
No.
Drew Brees was on pace to have probably his most efficient season of his whole career.
He probably would have got 5,000 yards again, honestly.
No. He probably would have got 4,000, maybe 4,500.
Yeah, maybe 45.
Because I think he missed 5 games, and he ended up with, I think, 2,800 yards.
I thought he had like 32.
No, it was 28 or 29. So he would have ended up with probably, still though, he probably would have ended up with about 4,500 yards. Probably, I think he had 26 or 27 touchdowns. So if he would have thrown 3 touchdowns a game, he probably would have ended up with another 42 touchdowns and maybe threw like 2 more picks.
Right.
So think about that. One of Tom Brady's MVP seasons. I looked it up because this dude said, Tom Brady had 4 MVPs, which it's a lie. He had 3. But one of his MVP seasons, he didn't even eclipse 4,000 yards. He had 3,900. I think he had 32 touchdowns and maybe 6 picks or something like that.
Good season.
But here's the thing. Everybody was so bad that year. But here's the thing. I also looked who should have won the MVP that year, and it was a running back named Arian Foster who had 1,600 yards and 16 touchdowns rushing, not to account for his receiving as well.
Dude was a beast that year. It's still a travesty Brees has never got an MVP.
It's amazing that one quarterback can get 5,000-yard seasons, which is more than I don't think anybody else has done it. Has anybody else done it multiple times?
I don't know.
I don't think anybody's done it multiple times. But for one quarterback to have multiple 5,000-yard seasons and to never win an MVP is absolutely absurd.
Travesty. So once you hit up on get away from the sheep instead of the goat or Tom Brady and move on to Taysom, because I want to talk some Saints dominoes now. So
Taysom Hill here's a couple of scenarios what could happen. Obviously, he's a restricted free agent. From the talk, Sean Payton said that they're leaning. I don't want to say leaning. That one of their options is that if they have to put a tender, they're going to put a first-round tender on him to retain him.
Should.
Which would be good in that sense. I really don't know what they should do because obviously you love Taysom. He's been an awesome player for us. But at the same time, you would end up getting a first-round pick from somebody. And if you get that first-round pick from somebody, I mean, do you take it? Do you match the offer? I don't really know because it is a first-round pick. It's obviously valuable, but how much value do they put on Taysom?
I think it depends on where the first-round draft pick is. If it's high enough to where you can get one of those top 2 quarterbacks.
I agree. And because you're not getting – nobody's wasting that. You're probably going to look between about 20 and 30 for a first rounder for sure.
The thing about it is you have 2 variables the only 2 variables that could work out for is number one, if Joe Burrow does use his influence to get out of Cincinnati, but like a Eli Manning, and the other is if Tua has some concerns going into the draft.
That's true. But yeah, I see it as between a 20 and 30 pick. Obviously, one of the teams that was linked to Taysom or they think will be linked is the Patriots, who have the 23rd overall pick. I don't know if I would let them get Taysom. I don't want them to because I feel like Belichick would use him like he's meant to be used.
The other one was Baltimore, but they're not going to give up a first for him.
That'd be a sick offense, though.
Yeah.
To have him and Lamar running around the truck and the joystick.
Yeah.
Nah.
Bye-bye RG3.
Yeah, that would be a sick offense. But I don't know as far as value goes if I would give up a first-round pick for Taysom Hill. And also, I guess it depends on how much the team is offering to try and get Taysom Hill as well. Because obviously, another option that I was going to mention is that Sean Payton also talked about getting a long-term contract for Taysom.
Yeah.
And there, from what I saw, not from any particular Peyton or Loomis or anybody like that, it was just a writer for the Saints, said that they would probably look at around what a high-paying backup and a high-paying backup quarterback and a high-paid tight end would be around $8 or $9 million a year.
Yeah.
For Taysom.
I'm good with $8 to $9 million on there. The reason why is because you did pay Teddy $7 million a year
as a backup quarterback.
As a backup quarterback, but Taysom's not going to just be a backup quarterback.
And you could say that, but at the same time, I think it depends on what else the Saints do. Because if you sign somebody else as insurance, like an older backup quarterback, draft somebody in the 6th round, then you may have to rely on him as the backup quarterback.
Hello, XFL.
Yeah, true.
Right.
But you may have to rely on that unless you sign or draft 2 quarterbacks, which would kind of give more insurance and allow you to use Taysom more. But I don't know how they would approach that if they do put Taysom in that position.
Yeah.
But yeah, if a team is trying to offer 11, 12, 13 mil, I don't think you can do that.
Right.
You can't. And I mean, if it's getting a first-round draft pick and letting them have him for 11, 12 mil, you gotta pull the trigger there.
You gotta do it. And then you hope, if that's the case, you hope the guy gets a franchise tag or something like that to get paid for all that he's done in the league.
Yeah.
So the other parts of the fallen dominoes goes in there. You have other pieces now that you can start thinking about for the draft, for free agency and stuff like that. Signing other players, letting other players go. Listen, we're going to say this as many times as we can. Andrews Pete, please let go of him. Let go of him. It's probably time to let go of other people who are injury prone.
You mean Mr. I'm going to sit on my butt or I'm going to break my arm?
Right.
Because that's about all he did for us.
Yeah.
Everybody say, oh, he's a Pro Bowl lineman, blah, blah, blah.
He's an alternate.
He is a versatile lineman that played everywhere on our line. And I think that was actually the problem, was that we put him at so many positions, he never really got his footing in one position. But he was not a Pro Bowl lineman. He benefited from a very good rest of the offensive line.
Yeah.
And that's what made him look good. But we watched the games, especially Minnesota, where they ran stunts and ran straight for him, and he got blasted every time.
Oh, gosh, it did. There's some other parts that I think that you need to let go of because of injury prone and big contracts. Kiko Alonso,
$8 million.
$8 million. You gotta let him go. He didn't even finish the season last year.
And I mean, he was good. I honestly think you bring him back at a restructured maybe $3 million a year.
Yeah,
I would take that, but not $8 million. Not $8 million.
No, I mean, you got some other guys that are just injury prone. There's 2 guys that are injury prone that are stars on the team when they're there. You really have to start debating, are we going to keep paying these guys? Are we going to see if we can restructure their contracts or what? Because these are 2 guys, especially these 2 guys, I love them, but they never finished the season. Neither one of them have finished the season yet for us. One of them, Sheldon Rankins.
That's true.
And one's Armstead. And I know Armstead.
Well, Rankins is still... Is he still on his rookie contract?
I think he is.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming up for a contract. I think that's going to be next year.
No, I'm just saying you got to start figuring something out. Whether you trade him and get trade value of it, if you're going to go that route. I'm not saying get rid of him. I'm just saying you got to start thinking about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we're already $20 million dead money because of Breeze's contract coming this year, which they can kick that down the road and deal with it next year.
Yeah, they've been doing that. I don't worry about Breeze's contract. I think for Armstead, I mean, like I told you earlier, he's the best left tackle in the league.
He is.
And I know he's not
10
healthy.
to 12 games a year.
He's not healthy all year, but I would rather have the best left tackle in the league 10 or 12 games than have a mediocre one 16 games.
Yeah, but the thing about it is Saints seem to always find a left tackle. And, I mean, even when they got Armstead from, what was it, Arkansas Pine Bluff? Was that where he was at? Or somewhere up in Arkansas?
Something like that.
So they find guys to get there. And if you could find somebody that can step in and pay a lot less and possibly play the whole year.
And we could do that. I would just rather find somebody while he's still there.
Absolutely. That's what I mean.
That way you
that's
can
part
ease
of,
them into it.
That's part of, you got to start figuring it out now.
Yeah.
And the other one was the one I talked to you about yesterday. This one hurts my heart to even talk about. But at the same time, when you sit back and think about it, and let me preface it with this.
Well, let's go before we talk about that because I'll expand on it with you
Yeah.
if it's the same person I'm thinking of.
You know who it is.
But there's a couple of other players that are pending. One is Janoris Jenkins, who I think we should restructure and bring back because what he did for us this past year, he was a really dang good cornerback. So you restructure him, get him for $5-6 mil a year. That's good.
Yeah.
Not the $11 mil he's paying planning on getting paid. Eli Apple.
Bye.
PJ Williams.
Bye.
The only one that I would actually keep just kind of as an insurance, as a slot corner, is Patrick Robinson.
Yeah.
Because he was actually, and
If
I
he can
know
stay
that
healthy too.
Yeah, I know that last play in the playoffs where Thielen caught it over him, but that was some of the best. I don't know how else you could have played defense on that.
Yeah, he was
without interfering.
And Thielen is a beast, and that was by far the best pass Kirk Cousins has ever thrown in his whole life.
Oh, easily. But is there anybody else that I'm missing? Ted Ginn, I think, but he needs to go. He just needs to retire.
Von Bell is up.
Bye.
But I think you might keep Von Bell. Honestly, I think they're going to keep him because he's such a hot name, hot commodity.
I think he's going to want too much money.
Yeah.
He's
not even
I like Von Bell a little bit, but he's basically fit the mold of every quote unquote hybrid safety that we've had.
Yeah.
A slow physical tackler that can't cover and is not very fast.
No, and
Kenny Vaccaro.
Oh gosh,
Roman Harper.
It's Malcolm Jenkins.
I don't even put Malcolm Jenkins. We didn't use him properly.
No,
at all.
Well, we're not using Marcus Williams correctly because
we're using him, but he's just if we got some help for him, he could end up being one of the best safeties of all freaking time.
Yeah, it's the NFL. You're not going to be able to have an Ed Reed to where somebody can cover the whole.
Not anymore, simply because the wide receivers are so stinking fast now.
Yeah,
everybody's getting faster every year.
Yeah.
So
except for Traquan Smith, can we trade him?
Oh, I'd love to trade him. If we could get a fifth for him, I'd be good. We spent a third, get a fifth, I'll be good with that.
Yes.
But anybody, I don't think there's really anybody else worth talking about.
No, well, that and the reason why I'm saying that is because you got some big contracts coming up next year. Ramchek's one.
AK.
Klein. You've been saying for a long time Klein needs to go.
Again, I like Klein. I think he's a brilliant-minded linebacker, but his body cannot keep up with the speed of the game. Yeah. He's not very fast. He's not quick to react. He can cover decently, but more times than none, he made one or two good plays in the playoffs, but he was more times a nuisance this year than he was anything.
He didn't in the first half.
Yeah, just like everybody else other than DeMario Davis.
I think if somehow, some way you can get Alexander Zaloni when he's healthy, his athletic ability.
Him and Caden Ellis.
With Klein.
I liked Caden Ellis before he got hurt too.
If you could somehow get Klein's mind with Anzalone's his athletic ability when he's healthy, of course.
We call that Luke Kuechly.
Right. Well, that ain't happening for a while. Isaiah Simmons. Kenneth Murray. But yeah. So let's move on to this one that I was talking about, and you know what it is.
I know where you're going.
So I won't even preface it like I was going to. I'll hit that at the back end, and I'm sure that's what you were going to do too. But listen to me before you start punching your radio, your phone, and all that stuff. Listen to it thoroughly and all the way through before. I heard him talking on the radio, and it actually, when they talked about it, it made sense. Trading Alvin Kamara. Listen, all the naysayers that he had a down year. No, he didn't have a down year. He was injured parts of the year, and he still put up the numbers that he's put. He's been consistent.
He put up 1,500 yards, so y'all can go take a nice walk.
So we're not one of the ones that say he had a down year or any of that nonsense. And, of course, just remember, if you go back and watch the Seahawks game, he's the reason why they won. That in the defense. But the trade was you trade him to somebody for a first-round draft pick. You get that draft pick and you trade back for 2 second-round draft picks. And in the second round, one of those picks, you draft Clyde, who is essentially,
Alvin
in many
Kamara.
ways, the same player.
Yeah.
And then that gives you another second-round pick, and you still have your first round. And just what I was going to say on the preference part of it is, well, he's a game changer, and I agree. It would hurt my heart to see him go, but you're fixing to have a big contract coming with him.
That's the thing. You have Ramchick, who's going to want a lot of money. You have Williams coming up. You have Lattimore coming up.
Yeah.
And you have Alvin Kamara.
Lattimore.
We're basically in Dallas Cowboy territory where we have a lot of players that are coming up with a lot of contracts, and we have to figure out who we want to pay.
Absolutely. And listen, Sean Payton and that crew has made things with running backs that you wouldn't think would. Mike Bell comes to mind. Pierre Thomas was a guy that was undrafted. So it's not that they can't develop a back, but you also can get somebody else that can be great. But
give me J.K. all day, dog.
If you get J.K. Dobbins as well, I mean, that's even him or Clyde, either one or both.
I'd take it.
Yeah.
You can get rid of Murray, you can get rid of Kamara, and you can take them too, and we got an offense. Buddy.
Look, you got it rolling. But what I was going to say about it is, look at all of the high-paid running backs in the league now, and none of them have a Super Bowl ring.
And for what? Todd Gurley. What happened to him?
Le'Veon Bell.
Zeke. I mean, yeah, he's good, but they haven't made it past the first round of playoffs.
Well, when they did the contract holdout, and look what kind of year they had this year. They fired a coach.
Exactly.
So when you look at it, the contracts for paying a running back, you and I did this research yesterday. The last team that had a I was going to say beast mode running back to win the Super Bowl
was beast mode.
That's how long ago that was.
And that was 6 years?
It may have been even longer than that, dude. I don't know.
I think it was when 2015, I think.
Yeah, when they beat Peyton Manning.
I think it was either 5 or 6 years ago.
In the Broncos. So think about it. All the other Super Bowl champions, their running backs, what was the stat that I told you? What was the amount that they paid? They were all under $1 million.
Yeah.
On there. So you don't necessarily have to have this big paid running back to win. Actually, it goes against you because it caps you from getting other talent around you.
Exactly. And I mean, I think out of every position, running back is the one thing that you can find elsewhere. You don't have to continuously hold on to a running back unless it's like an AP, just a running back of that caliber that you just know, even though they might not be the greatest, they're still going to be an awesome running back for you in the future, and they could help you. You keep a running back like that, but there's always somebody else. I mean, think about where Alvin Kamara was drafted. Think about players third round. Think about players like, and I mean, obviously he's not doing anything right now, but think about Kareem Hunt. You didn't even know about him, and he got drafted, and he killed the league his first year.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Bell, another one. You didn't really think anything of him, and all of a sudden he's killing the league. Yeah. Arian Foster, another one, killed the league.
Just going back to beast mode the year that they won the Super Bowl, he didn't have a big contract.
No.
Their big contract, of course, at that time they had a discount on a third round. Russell Wilson was third round, fourth round. Third round, wasn't he?
Third
round quarterback, so you had a discount price on him, but all their money was on the defense.
Exactly. And
Cam
that's why they ended
Earl
up winning
Thomas,
a lot.
Richard Sherman, Michael Bennett. I mean,
yes.
Bruce Irvin.
Irvin.
Man, I'm bouncing around because I can't find my phone. I was going to look something up, but I can't find it because I don't know what I did with my phone. That's great. So
Did you put you put it in your pocket or something?
No, I checked my pockets too. I don't know what the heck. It's probably I probably broke the screen setting it on or something. Who cares? Whatever. We'll find it eventually. So,
but yeah, I love Alvin Kamara. I think he can be the best running back in the league.
Yeah.
I've said it before. But like I just said, and like you say, you can find running backs elsewhere. Any point in the draft, you can go draft somebody. You can develop them into the running back that you want them to be. You really can.
Look at the Giants. You went drafted as they were saying, once in the generation type running back, and they were no better off, and actually in many ways worse off than what they were before they drafted him because they had so many other areas that they needed to draft. Now, don't get me wrong, they shouldn't have drafted Sam Darnold.
No, not on your life.
But there were so many other spots that they should have drafted. Matter of fact, in that draft, they could have drafted the Chubb.
Yeah, exactly, in the second round.
Well, I wasn't even talking about Nick Chubb. I was talking about
Bradley Chubb.
Bradley Chubb in the first round. And then you could have got you could have got either Darius Geis or Nick Chubb in the second round.
Yeah, exactly. And just been off just as well off as if you would have got Saquon Barkley.
Built up so much more. But
and I understand we're not saying Saquon Barkley's a bad running back. Obviously, the dude's a beast.
We're not saying any of these running backs are bad running backs, but we're just saying
here's
that
the deal. You can get running backs in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, even undrafted, and they can be just as good as a running back that you either A, have now that you think is great, or B, that you would draft early in the draft.
And then to the point I was making too, you pay a big contract on a running back,
they disappear.
Well, not only that, and some of them still play great, but you salary cap yourself to death, and you don't make it to the Super Bowl. Most of them don't even make it to the playoffs.
Exactly. Dallas,
Rams.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Jets.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I want Kamara here with us, but if you're keeping Kamara, it just means you're going to have to ship off somebody else at some point because you cannot keep all those contracts. Breeze's contract or not, you're not going to be able to keep it.
Agreed.
So, anything else on the Saints, good sir?
I think that'll just about do it for the Saints.
All right. So you know what time it is now.
It's top 10 time.
Top 10.
In a world where the gladiators of the gridiron battle on the turf week in, week out, Thursday, Sunday, and Monday, few stand tall on that said gridiron, and we call them the top 10. And this week we will be covering those that are said wide receivers. And here they are.
Well said, sir. Well said.
Thank you.
So, top 10 receivers. Before we jump off into it again, listen, I just want to reiterate this. On our top 10, we want you to go to our Facebook. We want you to go to our YouTube channel. Let us know what your top 10 is. Comment, subscribe, do all that. Let us know. Hey, you disagree with it? Hey, that's fine. Again, these top 10s are our top 10s.
They're a mixture of fact and opinion as well. Yeah, so they're not your top 10. They're our top 10. It's just what we think. It's our opinion.
Yeah.
You give your opinion, bada boom.
Notice our opinion always is a little bit different too.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily built off of straight up stats because, like I tell you all the time, when they say stats don't lie, yes, they do.
Yes, they do. Some of it's favoritism. Some of it's actually paying attention to what those stats are, how they were accumulated, blah, blah, blah. But let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, if you disagree with, especially Collins' top 10, it's okay. Because remember, he's Mr. Right. And even when he's wrong,
I'm always right.
That's right. So let's go with your number 10, sir. Your number 10 receiver of all time.
My number 10, and I actually looked up a couple of different lists just to get an idea, and he was actually not on any top 25 list, which I told you this earlier.
What in the Christian cuss word?
I told you this earlier. He was not on any top 25 list, which blew my mind being the top wide receiver of the last decade, in my opinion. Julio Jones.
Really? He's your number 10?
He's my number 10. Simply because, if I'm not mistaken, more than half of his seasons, he had over 1,500 yards. And I think he had multiple 200-yard games throughout those years, which is completely unheard of in a wide receiver. But he dominated the game, and you didn't really realize it because he wasn't putting up, and he wasn't the touchdown monster that you would think he is.
Yeah, it's because his offensive coordinators suck.
Yeah, let's get to the end zone and let's not throw to Julio because that's the smart move. Julio dominated the league consistently, year in, year out. I don't know what else to say. He was, in my opinion, other than I'd say Megatron, was the complete embodiment of what a wide receiver should be.
Big, strong, fast.
Exactly. Great hands, great route running.
Catch radius.
He was an amazing receiver, and that's why he's my number 10.
All right, so my number 10, it's you'd be surprised on this one that this is my number 10.
I'm not surprised with anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, you may be really
as long
surprised.
as you don't say AB.
No,
I might come across.
By the way,
this
AB
table.
is not on my top 10. He's not even, anyway.
AB is on my top 60.
Yeah. But you would be really surprised on who I have this one. You probably wouldn't have guessed who I have at my number 10. It's Julio Jones.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Nice. So we don't need to reiterate. Who's your number 9?
My number 9 is actually Mr. Showtime, Mr. Showstopper, Mr. Michael Irvin.
Okay. I can get on with that.
Michael Irvin, he's all-time leading receiver for the Cowboys. And listen, the guy was greatness. Give him that. Now, he had a lot of stuff around him, but he was
good.
He was the receiver.
He made his plays.
Yeah. Who's your number 9, sir?
My number 9 is great college wide receiver. Might have an award named after him. My man, Freddie B.
Freddie Bolitnikoff.
The man was a beast.
He was a beast, man.
I mean, when you say two wide receivers that you wouldn't have thought did anything in the league, you come up with two names, Freddie B. and Steve Largent, just based off of their pure athleticism, size, all that stuff. But Freddie B., the man got it done.
He's a beast,
The
dude.
acrobatic catches, great hands. He's the man.
That's right. That was your number
9.
Number 9? Give us your number 8, man.
My number 8 is best hands of all time.
No. You got him at 8?
I got him at 8.
Okay.
And I mean, there's a couple of more. There's a reason I put him at number 8.
Well, you got to tell everybody who he is.
Chris Carter.
Okay.
Best hands of all time. By far. Sideline catches, just absolutely insane. Loved watching Chris Carter. I don't know what else to say. Dude's a beast.
I think he would have been higher on your list he would have been higher on everybody's list if he wouldn't have had the situation where he had in Philadelphia and he had a full career.
And possibly, but again, my list is more opinion, and it's based off of not only stats, but what I saw, what I thought would have happened if some of these players would have had full careers.
Yeah.
Not just him, but all the players on my list. It based off of their stats, their abilities, but also if they would have had full careers, what would they have done?
Absolutely. My number 8 is actually Mr. Stickum himself. Fred Bolitnikoff.
Hey. We close.
Hey, Stickum. The homeboy had more Stickum all over his body. I mean, when you watch the
Little Giants.
Yes. best player on our team, hot hands. When you watch any of the old time videos or the highlights and you see Fred Bolitnikoff, homeboy has got. It's not even like trying to hide it like some of the baseball pitchers who try to hide their stuff. He's got Stickum all over his gloves, his socks. I mean, not his gloves, his hands, his socks, his forearm stuff, his jersey.
Everywhere.
If the ball hits him anywhere.
He was going to catch the ball.
Right. And I'm not hating on him for that. I'm not.
No, here's the deal for y'all that say, "Oh, Stickum, blah blah blah, it's so bad." Guess what? Players still wear Stickum. It's called gloves.
Look, them gloves, I call them Stickum gloves. They're $200 gloves. Odell would not be able to catch the ball with 3 fingers if it wasn't for the gloves. If you don't believe me, go to Academy, your closest Academy to you. Go into the sports aisle
And
the
pick
football
up them
aisle.
gloves.
Pick up the gloves. Get the cheap ones, the $20 ones, and pick up a football. You can almost palm it without your fingers touching it because it's got so much stickum on them.
Imagine a $200, $300 pair of gloves.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah, it's unreal.
So
That was my number 8. So
who's on your number 7?
My number 7, Mr. Raider of all time, Tim Brown.
Interesting.
And it's hard to think about it because he was so great. A lot of times he's forgotten.
He is, because Tim Brown was kind of like one of those players, and I know you don't like him very much, but he was kind of like a Curtis Martin. He wasn't really.
Don't make me cut you.
Again, I know you don't like him.
He's more like a Roger Craig.
No, because he was.
He's in the Hall of Fame like Roger Craig should be.
He's a lot better at the position. Yeah. I don't say better, but he just did a lot more at the position than Roger Craig did at his. Curtis Martin was I think he had 13,000 yards, bunch of touchdowns like Tim Brown did, but reason I say that is because Tim Brown wasn't a household name.
Right.
As great as he was as a wide receiver, he's not like, at that time, he's not like one of those like, Marvin Harrison. He was such a beast. You weren't thinking about somebody like that. T.O., somebody like that. You weren't thinking about Tim Brown like that.
I just realized I didn't put Marvin on my list.
God dang. Neither did I.
All
right, so we're going to throw in Marvin Harrison. I don't care where you throw him, but I'm throwing him in there too.
Let's just go with a 8B.
8B.
Yeah.
Marvin Harrison, second best hands of all time.
Yeah.
Caught everything thrown his way. He was going to get it.
Yeah, well, and he's one of those guys too. And honestly, when you think about it, you didn't during that time because you had Randy Moss, you had T.O., you had all these other guys.
You didn't really think about Marvin either.
No, you didn't. So to me, Marvin Harrison and Tim Brown are about the same.
Simply because not because they weren't great receivers, simply because they were the hands. Yeah. They didn't make the flashy catches. They didn't have big mouths. They didn't make drama. They just did their job. They caught the ball, and they did their job consistently. Yeah. They just weren't big names because of it, though.
That's right. Who's your 7? Lucky number 7.
My 7 is Mr. Big Mouth.
Which one? Come on, just say it. Get your popcorn.
T.O. Get your popcorn. Reason I put T.O.
Me some me.
Look, I know he's a big mouth. He's arrogant, blah, whatever you want to say it. But the man was a dang good wide receiver. He was big, physical, caught everything, set the single game receptions record. I mean, I don't know what you could say about him, but the dude was a beast. I'm sorry. He was.
He's a beast. The reason why he's not on my top 10 is because he is a locker room destroyer.
And again, I agree with that. But as far as just the wide receiver aspect of it.
And the way that he went into the Hall of Fame. Unreal. Yeah. Unreal. It's AB without AB.
Very much so.
So
I wouldn't even put him on that level. Yeah. AB's on his own.
Don't get me wrong. He's a great receiver. But good grief. Yeah. Who's your number 6? Moving on from him.
Did you say your number 7?
Yeah.
Who was yours?
Tim Brown.
Okay. My number 6, and again, this is one of those situations where if they would have had a full career, what would they have done? Megatron.
Megatron is at 6 for you.
Megatron is at 6. Simply because, kind of like Julio Jones, Megatron was more dominant than Julio Jones was.
Yeah. He was
simply
the offense.
Because Matt Stafford, literally all he did was throw up to Megatron, and didn't matter if you had 3, 4, 5 guys around him, he's going to catch it.
Yeah.
The man is a 6'5", 230-pound wide receiver that runs a 4.3.
Freak of an athlete.
Pretty much best athlete we've seen probably in the last 20 years, probably since Bo Jackson.
Right.
I mean, I don't know much more you can say. And he ended his career, I think he had a 6-7 year career. Broke the record for receiving yards in a season, if I'm not mistaken.
I was just thinking about his career.
He either did or came close, but I think he did break the record for most receiving yards in a season. But if he would have had a full career, I think he would probably end up being maybe not top, but he would be at least the second best wide receiver of all time if he had a full career.
If he would have kept on playing.
Because he only had, like I said, he only had 7-year career comparative to, say, Jerry Rice, who had, what, a 16-year career?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll talk about Jerry in a little while too.
I'm sure we will.
So that's your number 6?
That is my number 6.
My number 6 is Chris Carter.
Okay.
Yeah. Son, you just get down and pray and hope that when you're my age, you could do what I can do.
Exactly.
And he started the first down, stand up and stick your arm out first down. And when he did it, it actually excited you. You didn't look at it and roll your eyes.
Yeah, like most of the people nowadays.
Yeah. My number 5, you'll be happy he's on my list. You love him. Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah. I mean, if he's not on your list, you're a chump. That's all I can say.
Well,
I'm sorry, but if he's not, you're a chump.
There's plenty of room on there without T.O. and A.B., that's for sure.
Fact.
But Larry, you know, he had a great quarterback in Kurt Warner, but for the most part, he
had him for what, 2 years? 1 year?
3 years maybe. And he had Carson Palmer at some point, but for the most part, the guy just put up, and I mean, he's still playing, and I think he's coming back next year.
Who?
Larry Fitzgerald.
Yes, he is.
The guy he's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's probably, I'd say, the most consistent wide receiver of all time.
Absolutely.
And just to point it out, Megatron had a 8-year career.
8-year.
And he finished with almost 12,000 yards and 83 touchdowns.
Wow.
So imagine, I wouldn't say doubling that because obviously on the back end of somebody's career, you're not going to do as much. But even if he had, say, a 12, 13-year career, he probably would have ended up with close to 18, 19,000 yards, close to all of Jerry Rice's records if he would have finished.
Yeah.
But anyways, on to the next one.
Who's your 5?
My number 5, and I don't know him. I don't know much about him. All I know is that in that era, I saw what his stats were, and I actually looked up a little bit of his highlights. Don Hudson.
Oh, you're going way back.
The man was the original beast.
I'm proud of you for going that far back.
In that era of he played in the mid-30s to mid-40s, to have almost 10,000 yards receiving and close to 100 touchdowns in that era.
That's the era where they were like, hey, we might want to try to throw the ball forward.
That was pretty much, I'd say Don Hudson was the equivalent of, I'd say, Sammy Ball at that time.
Right.
In an era where you had quarterbacks throwing for 100 yards and a touchdown was an awesome game. He was throwing for 300 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns.
You're talking about during the time if you had anybody come close to 1,000 yards passing or receiving in a year.
They probably got banned because they were awesome. Yeah. But, yeah, I'm going Don Hudson on this one.
What number was that for you?
5.
5? Well, hit up your number 4, dude.
Number 4 is the man, the hands, no glove, Stevie Boy.
Steve Largent?
Steve Largent.
That's your number 4?
That's my number 4.
Guess what?
That's your number 4
That's
too?
my number 4.
Let's elaborate on old Steve.
Well, this is a guy that if you don't know football, we'll educate you a little bit here. All of the records that Jerry Rice broke
were Steve Largent.
Were Steve Largent's.
Steve Largent was one of those guys where you look at him and you're like, he ain't big.
No.
He's not tall. He's not that fast. But, buddy, you throw it towards Steve Largent, it's going to get caught.
Yeah.
That's just how Steve Largent was.
And he played in a time where it wasn't safe for a receiver.
Exactly. Not at all.
I saw some highlights on him where somebody took a cheap shot on him, and he came out on the next drive and blasted the dude.
That's awesome.
But listen, this guy, he played for the Seahawks, for those of you who don't know.
Yes.
And for those of you who are Seahawks fans who didn't know that, you're showing your true colors of being either really young
or a bandwagoner.
Because this guy was the franchise, and this was even before and even during the, what's his name? The Boz time.
Yes.
So
the Boz.
the Boz.
Love it.
So that's my number 4. My number 3.
I'm excited to see what your top 3 is because I have 3 people up there. Well, maybe okay. Never mind.
Well, probably 1 and 2 are probably the same. But my number 3 is already no. Okay. My number 3 is Megatron.
Okay.
And the reason
I'm surprised you put him that high.
Well, the reason why I put him that high because he was that dominant when he was there, and he did all of that with that short of a career. And what he could have been, you still got to see what he was and what he could have been through that. Just like Barry was number 1 and he retired before he took over the records.
Exactly. It's amazing. The Lions players do that.
I mean, it's kind of like Cincinnati and Cleveland. If you do stick around and become a star there and your career doesn't go in the graveyard, you're just like, hey, they ain't winning. I'm getting out of here.
Yes. So we're going to my number 3, correct?
Yeah. Go ahead.
My number 3 is Randy Moss.
Okay.
I know that's your number 2. But my number 3 is Randy Moss. Obviously, when I started watching football, or at least when I was able to pay attention to football, that's pretty much when Randy Moss started his career, back in the mid to late 90s. I mean, mossing him. I don't know what else to say. The dude basically kind of started it off just blowing up the league as a rookie. One-handed catches, just making acrobatic catches, doing everything for his team. He was an athletic freak. He was a smart player. He made quarterbacks look a lot better than they actually were.
Culpepper.
Tom Brady.
You mean the sheep, not the goat? Continue, sir.
But yeah, Randy Moss is my number 3, and that's that.
All right, so who's your number 2?
My boy, the Fitz.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Larry Fitzgerald is my number 2, and I will tell you why. Larry Fitzgerald, they can say LeBron did more with less. They can say
which is
Tom
crap.
Brady did more with less.
Which
they
is crap.
can say everybody did more with less. Larry Fitzgerald had the worst quarterbacks in history.
Dude.
Matt Leinart, past his prime Carson Palmer. I think he had Drew Stanton for a little bit.
Stanton.
You had a Kurt Warner that was almost in his 40s when he was finished playing. He had horrible quarterbacks throughout his whole career, yet he still usually eclipsed 1,000 yards every season, and I believe, is he 3rd or 2nd on all-time receiving list right now?
I think he's 3rd still.
To do that with the horrendous quarterbacks he's had throughout his entire career is a feat in itself.
Absolutely.
And to be pretty much the most consistent and, in my opinion, I'd say next to Drew Brees, probably the best class act of the NFL.
Absolutely.
I'd say he's the most class act.
Could you imagine if those two would have had a career together?
I wished that for so long. I really did. But just being the most consistent with the not having as much as everybody else and just being a class act, that's why Fitz is my number 2.
Number 2. My number 2 is straight cash, homie. Randy Moss.
Hold on. You didn't say it right. Straight cash, homie.
Well played, sir. Listen, the freak in himself. And I debated putting Calvin Johnson above him. And the reason why is because, he had his years with the Raiders, whatever city that they were in at the time.
That was bad years.
That was bad years. And it revitalized with the Patriots, which gave many people hope that other players like Ocho Cinco and other players like that were going to be like revive their career.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
I tell you this one thing about Randy Moss. The year that he got drafted, there's so much talk about he thought he was going to Dallas and Dallas passed him over. There's somebody else who passed him over, and I was extremely upset about it.
We're not talking about the Saints, huh?
Yes, the Saints. I was extremely upset that we passed up on him. I was like, I don't care that he got in trouble for smoking weed one time at that point.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah, I saw, and I didn't care that he came from Marshall. I was like, this kid is something special, and they passed up on him.
Yeah.
And look what he did. Hall of Fame.
I don't know what else to say.
Hall of Fame. And he didn't have large contracts.
No, he really didn't.
So,
And
we could have had some. He could have made some horrible looking quarterbacks at that time look great too. By the way,
exactly
for the Saints,
Aaron Brooks.
my number one, because I'm gonna let you do your number one as a because it's the same guy anyway. My number one is your number one.
Yes,
It's Jerry Rice.
yes, it is.
Let me say this too. Jerry did have a extremely long career where he played with other teams, where he played with the Raiders, he played with the Seahawks, he played with
Everybody.
Denver for a few minutes. But all of these records that he had, where he broke Steve Largent's records, he didn't do like somebody else in the Hall of Fame did, and then Emmitt Smith, where he came back just to break those records. No, he broke those records in his prime.
Well before he was on the back end of his career.
And even on the back end of his career, it wasn't like Emmitt in Arizona.
He was running for like 2 yards a game.
Right. He was pretty much the reason why the Raiders made it to the Super Bowl that year and got embarrassed by the Bucs.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else you could say about Jerry Rice other than he's the best football player of all time.
Yeah.
To most people. And to a top 100 list, I'm pretty sure I saw that he was the best football player of all time. Leads the wide receiving the yards list by what? Like 6,000 yards?
Yeah.
Completely untouchable as far as records go. Dude's the best.
He did have 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, but at the same time he had some. I mean, he also had to go through Elvis Garbag. He had to go through Jeff Garcia.
He had his bad years.
Yeah,
with those quarterbacks,
but he's still
the best of all time.
Still Jerry Rice at that time too.
Still the best of all time. That's all we can say.
So before we end it, any notables that you left off?
I think a couple that I want to maybe throw up there. Not really because they deserve to be in the top 10. Some of them maybe do. Some of them are just kind of more of my favorite wide receivers. I'll say Isaac Bruce is one of them. Definitely Lynn Swann. Mm-hmm. Loved watching Lynn Swann play. Another short career in Sterling Sharp.
Sterling, yeah. Sterling's one of those ones where, man, he was my at that time. Other than the Saints, I was loving the Packers.
Oh yeah,
it was because of him and Reggie White.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And man, if his career wouldn't have ended sooner, man, you would have had 2 Sharps in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. Sterling Sharp, Art Monk.
Yeah,
was a beast. James Lofton.
See, thing about James Lofton, of course, you think about him a lot from when him playing with Andre Reed with the Bills.
Yeah. And
Andre Reed's another one that I kind of thought about putting on there. But Lofton did play a longer career. He played with the Packers for a while, played for some other teams for a while too.
Yeah, I think he went between 4 or 5 teams, I think.
I'll tell you the reason why I left Lynn Swann off. Not just because he didn't have all the stats. Mm-hmm. But during that time, he had Johnny Stallworth, who always is overlooked.
He did, yeah.
Johnny Stallworth made that team just as good.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And he may have even been the more consistent, better receiver.
Oh, yeah. That's my couple honorables, though. What you got?
Reggie Wayne, Hines Ward,
yeah,
Steve Smith.
Yes.
Lance Allworth.
Steve Smith was a very overlooked receiver.
Absolutely. I mean, there's plenty of names that, man, you just almost want to debate. Could they at least made number 10 or 10B, 10C, something like that?
Fact, yeah.
Yeah. So, all these guys are great, but that's our top 10. Again, on the top 10, if you have a different top 10, hey, go list it. Let us know. We want to know. We're not going to clown. Well, we might clown you if you come up. No, I'm just playing. We want to know what it is. We want to get some feedback from y'all on there as well.
I make no guarantees about clowning.
Yeah, I mean, don't be a couple of haters. But we'll have fun with you, especially if we know who you are. We'll know that if you're a 49ers fan, that we won't clown you because we know, you
20-10, never forget.
Yeah. Well, we also know that you don't know how to have a sports debate or even trash talk or any of that stuff without trying to threaten murder on people's lives and stuff like that. So we'll let y'all slide. We won't pick on y'all too much.
But to finish it off, you know where to check us out. We'll post the links on it on Facebook, Twitter, wherever we got it. And again, YouTube. Shout out to YouTube as well. Shout out to our friends at Nova Nutrition. Shout out to our friends at Nolan Sports. You got anything else to add, Mr. Coutray?
Hey, again, man, thank y'all for the follows. Thank y'all for the listens. Thank you for the subscribers. Keep helping us out, man. Keep letting other people know. We need more listeners and followers and subscribers.
The more the merrier.
The more the merrier.
And as always, this is
The Right Cut Live.
We'll see y'all next time.